So in terms of child window handling, we have seen like we have to wait for an event, which will be, emitted when a new, wait for an event, which is like page, which will be emitted when a new tab or new window will be created at the time of test automation. So what happens in general is whenever you click on a link and it is trying to open a new tab or new window, at that point of time, a page event will be generated. And that is what we are trying to catch it over here, saying that wait for an event till the page event is getting generated. And this we have written without await. It's just because we want this wait for event to run either at the same time when we click on the link or run just before and keep on running so that it will keep on checking for the page event. And as soon as it find the page event have been occurred on the website, it will basically return us a promise. So what is promise is, it is basically an object and it will give us a response um, either like resolved or rejected. That means either successful or failure. So here, using wait for event, we are just trying to catch like page event is appearing on the website or not. We know that after clicking on this line, which is like line number 21, there will be one page event will be emitted, and um, that this particular like context.wait for event will give us some kind of response. And for that response, we are awaiting in the next line. So we are saying that because we know that this line will create a new page, so we are waiting here to give us the successful response before moving to the next step. Okay, so in the line number 22, we are trying to get, in the line number 22, we are trying to check, we have received some kind of promise from this particular line because the page event might have been already emitted on the website by after clicking on this particular line. Okay. So we are waiting for that on this line, which is line number 22nd, by using a new variable, which is new page. And whenever we have to do any kind of validation in the new tab, we'll have to do with going forward, like in the next, from the next step onwards. If we have to do some kind of validation in the new tab or new window, then we have to use a new variable that we have created over here. Okay. Here also we can see. So now let's say, okay, we are trying to do some kind of validation in the new tab or new window. That is well and good. But if we have to move again back to the back to the original page, which we had created, then again you have to go back to the page variable that we have used. So what is meant by that is, using new page variable, we are trying to do some kind of operation on the newly created tab or window. Now let's say if we have to again, let's say if you go back to this page and we say like, let's example, we just have to fill some kind of value over here. So we know that we clicked on this, a new tab have been opened, and we have validated document request is appearing on the page or not, right? Now we have to fill this username. Okay, so how do we do that? Because we know that this page was originally opened, and this like all the details, all the control of this page is on is on this particular variable, which is page. So this page is handling or controlling the original or main page that it has opened. This new page is controlling the newly created tab or newly created window. Now let's say if we have to again move back to the original page, then we again have to go back to the page that we were originally using to launch the URL. That means again we have to go back to the page and then write a locator saying, let's say something, and then value we had seen was name equals to So is it name equals to user? Okay. So you can just give name equals to username. And then let's say if you have to just fill it out, we can directly fill some kind of values. Let's say testing example. And then we'll just wait for, we'll not wait, we'll try to run this test case by using the UI part, which is like test runner. Okay. So let's see whether it is working or not. It has to, um, automate on the newly created page. And after that also it has to fill on the original page as well. So first it will launch the original URL, which is like a main page. Then it will go to then it will click on a link which will open a new URL, and then again will go back to the main page where it will launch the where it will fill the username part. So you can see like it has launched the URL over here. It is waiting for an event, which is it is waiting for an event which is a page event, and then if you see like it has like found some kind of text. You can see like it is highlighting over here. So before was nothing, and after it is highlighting, saying that we'll click on this link. Now it has clicked on the link and it is trying to open the page. Okay. So it is trying to, load the page that have been newly created. So that page is being load over here, and then we are again trying to say some kind of validation we are trying to do over there. And at the end, it again come back to the page where we'll come back to the original page where we can say it's not update. Okay. Okay. So if you just see over here, I'm not given anything. You have checking for this. This one was taking the prep. Okay, so we are trying to run child window handling, not the other one. So let's try to run over here and check. Let's give a waiting period of some part, like page dot wait for timeout, let's say 5 seconds. And there itself, we can check whether it has filled the username, which is like testing in the username field or not. Let's try to check over here. So it has clicked on, then there is some kind of issues over here. What happened? It says that waiting for this. That means the parse, the locator that we have written is not correct. We have to close it out with the square bracket as well. Now, if you see, so it clicked on, it opened the new tab, and then you see it has also filled in the original one. Okay. So if you have to move back from new tab or new window to original page that it has opened, again we have to use the page fixture or page variable that we had created and that we have used to create a new page. Okay. Okay. Is there any confusion in this handling child window?
No problem. No problem.
Okay, great. So we have another way. This is one way. We have another way to handle the frames. We have another way to handle the child windows. Okay, so let's remove this from here. So we have another way to handle the child window. Let's see how do we do that. So here we are trying to say that either these two lines go at one point of time, or we are saying like start with this event, wait for event like page event to appear, then click on this so that it is meanwhile it is waiting for the page event to appear on the website, and as soon as it appears, it will give us some kind of response, and that we are trying to wait in the next line after clicking on the link, right? That means we are trying to do these two operations parallelly, right? So what is meant by parallelly is we have not given a wait over here. So that means it can start at any point of time. So it will be keep on running, and meanwhile it also can click on the element. That means both of the actions are happening parallelly, right? It started at the first line of the execution, then it keeps on running till it finds the page event. That means this particular line will keep on running in the test script. Okay, and then await all the await steps will run one by one, but this will always be running unless and until it find the page event, right? That means what we are trying to do is we are saying that if we run these two lines of code parallelly, we can get the it will be able to find out the page event have appeared. Either we can do in this way, where this is one way where like you use wait for event, and then without using await. Why do we not give await is if you give await over here, then it will keep on waiting for the line number 20 itself, saying that I'm unable to find the page. It will wait for 30 seconds or whatever the default time that we have given, and then it will fail because it will not be able to find await, as we know that it will not be able to find page event, as we know that the page event will only be called after executing the line number 21. Now, if let's say, in that case, if we are saying like, okay, execute this and then write a wait and then this one, in that case also, this line will be executed first and the page event will already be called. Now, if we use line number 28 after 21st, then it will say like, okay, the page event have already been appeared. It will not have any idea. And from next line onwards, it will start executing. It will start finding like, is there any page event or not? Again, if there will be any new page event, then only it will get resolved, or else after some like timeout, after timeout of 30 seconds or default timeout of 30 seconds, it will fail. Okay. So one situation is this where we write without await and then wait for page event to appear. Second situation can be if we can write these two lines parallelly. That means if we can execute these two lines parallelly, in that situation also, what will happen is this wait for event, let's say if wait for event is executing first out of these two lines, then it will still wait for an event to appear, and then it will check whether the page event have been appeared or not. What in general, what happen is like if you remove await, so let's create a new page and then we'll discuss it. So child window handling in other handling using promise. So here we again have to write a browser picture because you know that new page or new tab will be opened on a context. Now let's copy paste all the values. So these three lines will always be there. So we have to create a new context, new page. Now let's see what happened in general. We know that JavaScript is an asynchronous language, right? So let's say if first line that we have written to launch the URL, second is to fill the username, third is to click on submit button. Okay. As we have not written any await before any of the steps, so what will happen is all these 3 lines of code will try to run at the same time. All these 3 lines of code will start executing at the same time. It will not wait for any of the event. Let's say if launch URL is waiting, launch URL is doing some kind of operation to launch the URL. Now it will take, let's say, 1 second of time. Meanwhile, fill the URL will say, okay, I'll start filling the username. Again, if it takes like, let's say, fraction of second, then click of submit will say, I'll start clicking on the submit button. So all these 3 actions will start happening at the same time. Okay, it will not guarantee you that whether the launch URL will be executed first, fill the username at second, click on submit third. Okay, so it will, all the 3 will try to start at the same time. At that point of time, it might be like click on submit, might execute for the first, fill the username as a second, launch URL as a third. Okay, that is why we basically use await to make it synchronized and execute step by step, right? Now our goal here is to run these 2 cases parallelly. If these 2 cases will run parallelly without await, whatever it runs, it will, let's say if it is running this page event at the same time, like it is clicking on the link will, by clicking on a link, a new tab will open. So a page event will be called. At the same time, wait for event will also start, because it is saying click on an element. So it click on an element will take at least some fraction of second. Meanwhile, wait for event will start executing. So as soon as it finds, okay, page event have been appeared, it will, it will give us some kind of response. Either it is successful or failure, and that we can store again inside a variable. Let's see how do we do that. So we have one method inside a JavaScript known as Promise.all. Okay. So Promise.all is one of a method. It says that it will take an array of step. That means this Promise.all will take array of steps. That means we can provide like more than 2 steps that we have to execute. It says that all the steps that we write inside this will be inside an array. Let me write it out and then we can. So let's say we are saying that we have to execute these 2 lines of code. Okay. So this promise.all says that whenever we use promise.all method, it will accept an array of step. That means more than 1 step it will accept at a time. And it also returns us, it basically creates a promise that is resolved with an array of result. See here, it says that when all of the provided steps are resolved, or it will send us like return us a rejected response if any one of the step is failed. So what it is saying is, unless and until all the steps have been resolved, it means have been successfully completed, then only this promise.all will return us a success message. Okay, just try to concentrate for a couple of more minutes. You'll understand it in a better way. So promise.all we use whenever we have to use like few of the lines in a parallel way. Okay, so this will be one interview question. Like, let's say if you have to run more than 1 or more than 2 steps parallelly, how will you achieve that in Playwright? Okay, at that point of time, we cannot say like we'll not use await, because we know that we don't know like whether those 2 lines will appear at a time, or it can like execute first await condition and then we'll go for all this kind of execution. Okay, so what I was saying is, let's say if you do not use, if you write two of the steps after this line, after this await, which is launching the URL, and you have written some kind of lines, which is without using await. This will not guarantee us that it will wait for first await to like this URL to launch and then execute these two lines. This will not guarantee. These two lines will start executing at the same time, but it can be the first one to execute as well. Right, first step to execute as well. So whenever they ask you, look, how do you achieve more than two steps to work in a parallel? Then we have to say that we'll have to use a method which is available inside a JavaScript, is known as Promise.all. All the steps will return a new promise. That means new either success or either successful or failure. Okay. If see, every step will resolve us. All these steps will give us some kind of response. If you are waiting for, then it will just say that, okay, I'm waiting for. If you are just saying like is visible, then it will return us either true or false. If you are saying filling, it will just say that, okay, I have completely successfully filled. If you're saying like just click on an element, then it will do not return anything, but it will return saying that I have successfully clicked on. That means the promise have been completed, resolved. The work that we wanted to do using this click method have been completed. Okay, this is what the response it will give us. This will not return anything, but it will say like, okay, the step have been completed. This will return a new page. We know that this will return a new page handle. So what Promise.all says that we will take like this will take an array of step, whatever the step that you want to execute in a parallel, you can write inside this array. And this will return the successful message only if all the steps have been successfully executed. Or it will return a failure if any one of the steps have been failed to execute. Okay. So let's say if you write await over here, example, let's say if you write await over here. Now what happened is this step will keep on waiting. This step will be executed. This step will be like basically keep on waiting for a page event to be created. As we have given await, so it will keep on waiting, and will not find. As this particular step, meanwhile, this as it is not having await condition, so it will click on a link, and this will wait for a page event to appear on the website. Now what happened is this have been successful, but this has been failed. After 30 seconds, it will fail because it will say like I am unable to find the page event. Now, as one step have been failed, this promise.all will return us an error message, which will says that or like the promise that we were trying to execute, or the step that we were trying to execute inside promise.all method have been failed. That means rejected, and it will not give us a proper message. It just send us a failure message. Okay. Understanding?
Yes, Praveen.
Okay. So whenever or whatever steps that you write inside promise.all method, every step will be without await itself, because we are trying to achieve parallel execution of all the steps. But this complete step, whatever we are trying to do, has to go with a await. Okay. So we are saying that launch the URL first, and then await for this particular method to be completed. Whatever the step that we have, it has to be completed first, and then we have to move to the next line. And we know that this promise.all will return us an array of value. See, it will return us array of results. Okay, if it is resolved. If it is not resolved, then it will return us failure things, which is rejected. So it will return us array of result. So that we have to store inside array. So let's say we are saying new page. See, first step will return us a value which will be a handle for the new page, which I am saying like let it be with, let's use it as a new page. Now it says that I'll return you an array of response. Now this will return as a new page handle. This will just click on an element and will not return anything, right? This will just click on an element. This will not return anything. So if you see, we do not have any return. It is just saying that void. That means I will not return anything. Okay. So in this case, it will only return one particular response, which is new page handle. For this, it will not return anything. That is why I have stored it inside a variable, but we have to store in the array format because it says that, because this method, all method says that I'll return you an array of response. Okay. So I hope you got these two lines of code.
Can you repeat again? I missed this, Praveen.
Okay, sure. So see, whenever we have to execute more than one line of code in a parallel way, one way is to we can write await without await, but that will not guarantee you that it has to go in a sequential and then run both of the steps in a parallel way, right? Second way is we can write it inside Promise.all. So whenever we use Promise.all method, which is a method of JavaScript, this all method says that I'll accept an array of steps. So you can write even 10 lines of step. All those 10 lines will execute at a time. And if every steps is getting successful, then only it will result a resolved response. That means successful response. If any of the line is getting failed, then it will return us a failure message. Okay. So now here in this case, we know that wait for an event will return us a promise, which will be a page. That means it is saying that I am creating a new page. So it will return us a new handle, like new page handle, which we can store, which we are trying to store inside a variable. Now, why everywhere I have used like a normal variable, but why I'm storing inside a square bracket is this Promise.all method says that I'll return an array of response. Okay. We can see here it is saying that I'll return an array of response. So what all the response that we'll be getting? See, it is saying that we have used one is wait for event and another is click event. So it is saying that I'll return you for first line, I'll return you a promise page. Second line, I'll return you void. Void means I'll return nothing. Okay. Wherever you see void will not return anything. Right. So here, for first line, it is saying that I'll return you a page promise. That means I'll like if the page event is appearing, then I'll successfully resolve that there is a new page have been created, and I'll return you a handle for that new page. Okay, that I'm trying to store inside new page one. Now we also have to get the response from the second, but second we know that click method will not response anything. It will just response a void. So we do not have to use again any value because we know that click method will not response any value. And that is where the second, for second response, I have not used anything. I've just used new page one variable to catch the page event over here. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Right. And now when we have to automate on the new page, we have to use this particular variable, the variable that we have received the response from wait for event. And from here on, we can just replace it with new page one. And we know that if we have to work on the original page, then we have to wait for, then we have to again go back to the page variable that we used to launch the URL. Okay. Now, like we also have to return, we also have to basically delete this line because this line is not valid now because we are automatically awaiting for this Promise.all, and this is itself returning as some kind of values. So in the previous way, we we were manually waiting for an event, like successful event from this to appear. And then we were saying that wait unless we get the success, and then we'll move to the next line. Here inside Promise.all itself, we are getting all the response. Inside Promise.all itself, we are waiting for the response, and then we'll move to the, then we are moving to the next line. Okay, let's try to run now and then see whether it is working in the same way as it was working for the previous way. So there are two ways in which we can handle uh, multiple windows or child windows, multiple tab in Playwright. Okay, so let's try to run this. I've used only on the child window handling using Promise. Right, so it clicked on this, it identified, and if you go back here, it has also filled the testing part, and then the system. This is also working in the same. So if you see the title of this, if you open the report and see this, it will. So it says that child window handling using Promise. So it basically learns the URL over here, and then it is trying to wait for an event. See, all these two things are happening parallelly. That is why it is inside this one. Okay, so you can see like wait for event, and clicking on on a link is happening at the same time. Okay, and then using the original one, we are also trying to fill on the element. So you can see that it basically also have taken the screenshot of the original page and for the new page as well. Okay, so any confusion in this part?
No, bro.
Okay, great. So now, so we have completed like, the child window handling or multiple window handling. Now let's discuss another important concept, which is a frame. So frames, let's say frames dot spec dot js. So what is basically frames? Okay. So frame is frame in general is uh, a HTML page inside another HTML page is known as a frame. Okay. So what is meant by that? So see, this is one of an application. This is one of a application. This has been developed using HTML. Okay, so how do I know this has been developed using HTML? Every page will be developed using HTML itself. Okay, so if you see this one, this HTML is highlighting all the application, all the entire page for this particular application. Now there is another application, another website that it has been another application have been used inside inside the main application, which is automation practice, and inside this they have used another application, right? Another basically application, complete application, which has again been developed using a HTML tag. So if you see this one, this is just highlighting the part of the page, right? That means which the other application that have been developed using HTML tag. Okay. So what is frame is a HTML page available inside another HTML page is known as a frame. Okay. In terms of definition, if we talk about, then it says that an HTML page, which is this one, this has been again developed using HTML page. How do we know that? We can see like it is available over here. Okay. HTML page. So it says that an HTML page which have been an HTML page which is on the another HTML page. So this HTML page is inside the main HTML page, right? That is known as iframe. There are two ways we can identify the frame in a web page. One is you can directly check if there are multiple HTML page. Second way is you can also try to find it out if there is a frame tag name. So we see here, this is a frame tag name, which is able to highlight this particular application, which is inside again another application. Okay. So if you see iframe is available as a tag name, then that means whatever it is able to highlight, that is inside a iframe. That means this has been developed using HTML, which is entirely different than the main HTML page. Okay. So if you see anywhere iframe tag inside the web page, inside like the DOM, which is like, this is known as document object model, which is used to develop the elements property, like properties of an element. So if you see iframe is available in any time, that means there is an iframe that is available inside a web page. And to work on the iframe, we basically have to first switch to the iframe, and then we have to again automate inside the iframe. So to work on the iframe, it will again be a similar kind of things where we had seen for the child element. What we had seen is we have launched the URL. That means page control is having on this particular page. Now, if once you click this, it will open a new page. That means the original page handle will not be able to understand that there is a new page, and that page handle will not be able to identify all the elements available on the new page. So for that, we have created another page, and then using the another page handle, we were trying to automate this. And then again, when we had to go back to the original one, we again used the previous one, right, which was page. In the same way, here in terms of iframe also works the same. So what it says is we have launched this particular URL. So page fixture will have an understanding of page, either fixture or global variable will have understanding of this web application. It will not have an understanding of this particular application, which is available inside the same application. Okay. So this will say that, okay, I'll be able to identify the iframe, but I'll not be able to do any kind of actions on this particular iframe page. Okay. That means it says that you have to move your control from the main page to the iframe, and then you have to do some kind of actions, whatever you are trying to do. Understood the concept of the iframe?
Yes.
Any confusion over here?
Praveen, can you repeat one more time?
Right. So frame is basically an HTML page which is available inside another HTML page. Okay. How do we identify a frame? Is if you see any tag name available as a frame, iframe, as an iframe, then that means whatever it highlights, that is available inside a iframe. And to automate this iframe, we basically have to switch to the iframe, like switch to this particular page or this particular part of the page, and then only we'll be able to automate things. So it says that wherever you see iframe as a tag, to automate iframe, we basically have to switch from main page to the iframe. Okay, and then only we'll be able to interact with this. Here, what happened is whenever we launch this URL, we'll be using page.goto, right? So this page will have an understanding of this particular website, this particular application, the complete application. So that page will be able to identify the iframe. Which page I'm talking about is the page fixture. Will have an idea of that there is an iframe available, but that particular page fixture or page global variable will not be able to do any kind of actions on this. It will say that switch to the iframe first, and then store that locator inside another variable. Okay, store that locator inside another variable, as we did for the child window, where we created a new page and then stored that new page inside a variable which is known as new page. Okay, and then we have done some kind of operation. So in the same way, iframe says that in concept of iframe says that we have to switch to the iframe, store the value inside another variable, and then using that variable, we will be able to automate some kind of things. And again, if you have to work on the main page, then again, you have to go back to the page fixture or page variable. Let's try to see the example, and then you will basically be able to understand how it is working. Okay, so let's see how it works. So we can say that, let's say import test, and then also import like expect from Playwright. Playwright test module. Okay. So this is another way like where you can use import. By using import, then you can use like whatever you want to import from. Earlier we were trying to use let's say store it inside a variable, which is this one. And then we were saying equals to require, and then Playwright test mode. Okay, so this line and this line are same. Here we are saying that import test and expect from this particular things using a required function, which we are trying to store inside a variable. And here also we are saying the same thing, import test expect from this particular module. We can write anything. I mean, there is no harm in writing the first line or no harm in writing this one. You can use anything, but just wanted to say like this is also one of a way where you can try to import test or expect from the Playwright test module. Okay, and start writing the test. So this will say that frame handling using Playwright. And we can declare a fixture. We'll create a function. And we also have to give async keyword over here. Let's start the automation. So we'll say like please dot go to, what is the URL of this particular things. We have to give the URL. Now our goal is to move to the frame, right? So let's identify where is the frame available. So we know that there is a frame tag, which is able to identify the complete value for this frame. So we have an ID. We know that if we have an ID, we can directly use hash. We can directly use hash over here, and then ID value. So let's write a locator. How do we write a locator? Is page.locator, and then we give some kind of value, right? And this we can store inside a variable as well. Let's say I am saying as frame page. Okay. So whenever we write a locator, either you can use await or you can also remove, because we are not trying to do any kind of action. We are just trying to store some of the value. Okay. So let's remove it. Even if you write like await, there will be no impact. So none of like error will not be thrown if you use await over here. Okay. So what did we do here? We have just stored a locator inside a variable, which is known as frame page. Okay. So now we know that whenever we have to write a locator, we'll be using a locator method of the Playwright to identify the element. Okay. Here we are trying to identify a frame element, right? It is not a normal element. We are trying to identify a frame element. So Playwright has another method, which is known as frame locator. This method is used to identify the frame element. Okay. So frame locator will basically take a locator as a parameter and will be used to identify. This will also take a locator as a parameter, and this method will be used to identify the frame element. So that means we have to use a method over here as frame locator. Okay. So whenever we use frame locator, we can just see that when working with iframe, you can create a frame locator that will enter the iframe and allow selecting element in that frame. That means it is saying that whenever you see iframe tag available, iframe as a tag available, that means some of the elements are having inside a frame. To work with that, it says that we have to create the locator using frame locator, so that this frame locator will be able to identify that we are trying to work on iframe. Okay, so we have just created a locator to identify the frame using frame locator, and that locator we have.
In this case, no need to switch explicitly, means from page to frame.
Nothing. That is what I'll be explaining next. Okay. So what we are trying to do over here is we are just storing the variable of storing the locator of iframe, and that we are storing inside a variable. Now Playwright says that whatever the variable that you have used to store the iframe locator, now this variable became your control for iframe automation, or like automation for the element inside the iframe. Now this variable became your complete have a complete control. Okay, so now the thing is, you do not have to basically switch to any other things. This particular, whenever we write like frame locator, Playwright will be able to identify that we are trying to switch to iframe. That means we are trying to do some kind of operation in now iframe by just using the frame locator. And that locator we have to store inside a variable. And this variable now became a control, like handle as like page is working. So if you have to now do any kind of operations, or if you have to do any kind of writing locators, then we have to again use this variable that we have used. Now, in terms of Selenium, if you might have worked, or in any other programming language, there is something called switch to frame, right? There is a switch to frame, driver.switch to frame, and then you identify a locator for frame, and then you automate some kind of things, and then you come out of the frame by using default, right? Inside the Selenium. Whereas in Playwright, it says that you write a locator for identifying the iframe using frame locator, store the locator inside a variable. Now this variable you can use to automate or do any kind of action inside your browser or inside your iframe. Okay. And if you have to again move back to the main, you don't have to, switch back to the default view as we do in the Selenium. We do not have to do any kind of things. Only the thing that you have to do is you have to use the variable that you were trying to use earlier, okay, which is currently focusing on the main page. Okay, so this page is currently focusing on the main page, and now frame page is now focusing on the frames. So if you see, like, if you try to write like frame page dot locator, every method, everything will be again in the same way that we were trying to use using page. Okay, now this frame page will have a complete handle of the iframe. Able to understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let's say I'll just click on all access plan. Our goal is to just click on all access plan, and there is some value over here which says that we'll just have to print this value. Just print this value by switching to the frame, and then click on all access plan, and then get the value for the text that it is displaying. So let's say we have something called as href equals to lifetime access, or we can directly use text as well. So what we can say is frames dot get by we can say get by role, and we know that the role of these tabs are basically link. So we have to click on this, and then it will navigate to some information or some part of the application. So these are working as a link, right? Everything is working as a link over here. If you click on this, it will open inside the frame itself. It will not navigate you to the other page. It will open you inside the new page itself. Okay. So it is working as a link. So we can say that the role is a link. And then we have to filter it out. So how do we filter? By saying name equals to this. Okay. And what is our goal? Our goal is to, we can also write it as like, let's say first, so that only if there are multiple elements matching with the all access plan with the name, and it will just filter it out the first one by using the first method. Okay. And then we can say like, click on this. Okay. And what is our goal again? As soon as it clicked on this, we just have to get the text from this particular element and then print it out. So we have a class which is known as text. So we know that whenever we have a class, we can use dot text. It is able to identify the complete section, this complete section, and we are just interested in this one, h2, right? Which is saying all the values over here. So we have inside the h2. We know that whenever we have to move from parent to child, we just have to give a space, and then you can write a tag name or whatever the identifier, whatever the attribute are there that we can identify. Okay. So let's say page dot frame page dot locator. Then you can write this, and then what is the method that we have to get the text is using text content. Okay. I hope we have discussed this earlier. And then we can say text. Let's say text result equals to frame piece dot locator dot this, and then we can directly print it out saying that console dot log print the text result. Okay. So this is how we basically do work with frames in Playwright. Remove only from here. Okay, so whenever we have to handle frames, whenever we see like there is a frame inside any application and we have to automate inside a frame, we can write a locator first to identify the frame that we can store inside a variable. And now using this variable going forward, we can start automating inside the frame. Now let's say if you again have to switch back to the main frame, let's say if I have to click on home page, home link. Okay, so we can directly write, let's say, so how do, as it is not inside the iframe, so we have to again come back from iframe. So to come back from iframe, there is nothing called we have to switch to the default view or anything. We can directly use page fixture and then say locator. How do we write a locator is, let's say, get by role. Again, we know that that is working as a link, and we can filter it out by name equals to home, and then just click on this. Okay, getting the point?
Yes, Praveen.
And now we can execute the code. Let's say whether it is working fine or if everything will work fine, then it will give us a result, or else it will throw us some kind of error. So if you see like npx playwright test, we can see like it will launch it basically doing some kind of action. It did some kind of action, and it also clicked on the home page. That means everything have been properly resolved. Now see, it is throwing us a promise pending. So whenever you say for each step, there will be 3 actions. One is pending, one is resolved, and one is rejected. That means pending in the sense, this step is still doing some work. Okay, that is known as pending. And if it is resolved, then it has successfully returned us response. If it is rejected, that means this step have been failed. Now, you know what did we do the mistake over here? We did not write await. Over there, we also did not write await over here. Okay, now if you see, though this has been passed, but this did not return any response from the, did not return the complete text from the element. Okay, so if you see now, then it will navigate. See, it will scroll down to the iframe. It will click on that, and then it has clicked successfully. And now we can say that it has given us a response as well, which is join 13,522 happy subscribers. Okay. Any confusion over here?
No problem.
No problem.
Okay. Now, see, I'll just take a couple of more minutes. Now, see, let's say if you just use page over here without switching to the frame, if you just use page over here, then we can see here that it will fail saying that I am unable to identify this particular element. As we basically have to switch to the frame and then switch to the frame in the sense, take the control to the frame, and then we have to do some kind of operation. Here it will say that I am unable to identify what is access. So it will keep on waiting for whatever the default time that we have, and after that it will fail. Okay, so that is where we first write a locator to identify the frame locator, and then by using that particular variable, we'll have to, whatever the variable that we have declared, using that variable, we have to automate inside a frame. And if you have to come back from the frame, you can use the original variable or global variable or fixture that we were trying to use. Okay, so that is it in the today's session, and we'll continue in the next session. So how about you people, like tomorrow, will you be available?
Yes, Praveen.
Yes, Praveen.
So, ma'am.
Available.
Okay. Okay. So then we'll try to complete two of the concept. One is like shadow DOM concept. See, this have failed. It is saying that unable to identify this particular things, this particular locator. Okay. So what we can do in the next session, why I'm asking you to, if you can join tomorrow is so that we can complete shadow DOM, plus we'll complete one particular test case automation, like test case or end-to-end test case automation for one of a application. Okay. And after that, from the next week onwards, we'll move to the API automation, like some basic part of the API, and then we'll move to the framework generation. Okay. So that is it for today. Tomorrow also, I'll not take more than 1 hour of time. And then you people can practice it out, whatever we have discussed till now in the sessions.